Welcome back to the Last Minute Fantasy Scramble. I'm K-Mac. We got Bud. We got Bobby Digital. And we are ready to do our fourth mock draft of the year. Joining us also is John. Right now he's at the 5th spot. Bud's at number 3. I'm at 4. Bobby's over there hanging out at the 11th spot with our friend Brian at the 12. The rest of them are going to be filled with auto drafts on the Sleeper app. If you're following along on YouTube, you can see our beautiful draft board. Otherwise, we will do our best to describe every single move in perfect detail. So, without further ado, let's get started on this thing. I'm going to go ahead and hit start draft. Yes, I do want to start the draft. Maybe I should open this up on my phone so I could actually draft. All right, and let's see if I auto-draft this time. Yes, I want to start the draft. What's going on? Here we go. CMC 1, JT 2. Bud, you are up at the 3rd spot.
So, I mean, this is a pretty good spot for whatever you want to do. You have many options, and this is going to be a no-brainer for me. This is a guy I like at the spot. I'm not even going to think twice about this pick. I'm going to go with Jetta. Here, probably one of my favorite wide receivers in the whole draft, and I don't want you to have him. You're up.
Come on, dude. You know I was going to take him.
Yep.
All right.
But I like him more.
I don't care if you like him. He was supposed to be mine. All right, here I am at the 4th spot. JJ's been going up higher and higher on my draft board. Like, I'd even consider taking him at the 1 position now. It's just so exciting to see what he could possibly do in that new Minnesota offense. However, here, I think I am going to go with the guy who was dominating the lead before his injury last year. And I'm going to go Derrick Henry here at 4. Which brings us up to John, who is on the board. John is unable to join us for this show, so we will be able to criticize all his picks, and he will not be able to defend. John recently did draft in a free public league where he picked all Jets players, so we're going to see how that goes. At the same time, following him, I did do one with all Dolphins players, so clearly my team is going to be better than his, but we'll see how that goes. So to do a quick recap of the draft so far, CMC went first overall, Jonathan Taylor 2, Bud went with Justin Jefferson, and I went Derrick Henry. John now has 20 seconds left on the clock to make up his mind. This is a tough one for him, I'm sure, as he's unable to join, and he goes Austin Eckler at the 5, and Dalvin Cook snatched up at number 6, followed by Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, and Bobby Digital is on the clock.
Yeah, again, we say this every mock. This is why you mock draft, because I had some guys on here that I was hoping would fall, and I got sniped on 3 of the last 5 picks were all players that I was looking for. So now, I have to look and weigh my options. To me, I've been hyping him up all offseason. I'm a huge believer in Deandre Swift. He led all running backs in receptions and targets until he got hurt last year. He put on some weight, apparently. He's in his 3rd year now under that system. Again, Jared Goff is definitely going to dump off a lot, and look to him for that. The Lions have somewhat of a revamped offense with some free agents coming over, Jameson Williams, and now Amon-Ra St. Brown emerging. I think DeAndre Swift can put it all together this year and have that breakout year. He has the talent. He has the explosive ability. So my pick is going to be DeAndre Swift.
All right, DeAndre Swift. So I'm surprised you went him over Najee Harris. Care to explain why?
I mean, I have some stuff that we can explain a little later on if you'd like, but I'm really, again, it's just more so I'm involved. I'm in love with DeAndre Swift. I think Najee Harris is a little bit safer. But I think his upside is a little bit more capped. I think that, again, they said they were going to limit his touches a little bit. Pittsburgh's offense maybe is looking a little bit shaky. And Detroit also has one of the best offensive lines quietly in the NFL. So I'll take the explosive guy, more explosive guy in my opinion, over Harris. And I do believe, again, with his reception prowess, I believe DeAndre Swift is going to get a lot more receptions too, which, again, in PPR leagues is crucial. So that's why I'm leaning Swift over Najee here.
All right. While Brian remains on the clock and is about to run out of time, this is fantastic. His very first pick in the Last Minute Fantasy Scramble mock, he's going to go right into auto draft. He goes and drafts Stephon Diggs, and I guess he's back because he didn't auto draft his second pick. But Yeah, Najee was a guy who his volume was huge last year, and we talked about it a little bit the other week. I'm a fan of Najee, but I am starting to get a little bit hesitant because it's only because of his volume that he was able to produce the numbers that he did. So, anyways, Brian drafted Diggs and Lamb, a solid wide receiver combo to start. Bobby, you're back up.
Yeah, I've been really thinking about picking late in the spot and what my options are going to be here. There's a lot of different options I could choose, honestly. Looking at the draft board and whatnot, I'm going to try something a little bit different here. Um, Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to stick to my roots. I'm going to take Aaron Jones. I take him almost every draft. Look, again, I say it every time. You know the splits without Devonte Adams in the Packers offense, what Aaron Jones has been able to do. He's the most trusted weapon for Aaron Rodgers, and you would think as the Packers, you look at their offense, the strength of their offense is going to be in that running game. Aaron Jones is going to have a late year, and I'll take him here.
All right, so you picked Aaron Jones. After that was Travis Kelce, followed by Najee Harris. Najee Harris going second round, fourth pick. That's pretty late for him. Followed by Nick.
That doesn't happen in the real world.
No, it does not. Followed by Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews, and we are back up to John, who is on the clock. His first pick was Austin Eckler. Does he go running back here? Does he go receiver? Only time will tell. It's an interesting first couple choices of picks. And, okay, so fresh off the news that it's more likely that his suspension may happen in 2023 instead of 2022, John goes Alvin Kamara. Bud, what do you think about that?
I think it's a pretty good move. We know that he's not going to be suspended immediately. So in the interim, I mean, he's going to get the work. He's going to be the guy. And I think this offense is being very undervalued and undersold right now. I think that, the Saints are going to surprise a lot of people.
All right, so I'm up now, and I have a tough choice to make. Do I go wide receiver here? Deebo Samuel is a guy that I'm not totally sold on for this season, but you know what? I think that it's just a big drop-off after him, so I'm going to go Deebo here. I think that his potential, I think he is going to be played a little bit less in the rushing game, but that's just from some of the reports that I'm hearing. Not 100% sure on that. But, Bud, you are up. You picked Justin Jefferson in the first. Who are you thinking here?
Actually, I haven't really drafted. I drafted in the one spot. I haven't really been in the third spot too often, but I kind of like my options here, and there's a lot of good value here, especially for running backs. And I'm going to pick a guy that I've never really had any stock of ever, but I think that does have potential. He looked really good in the preseason game the other night, and he's coming off injury, and that's going to be Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to be used quite well in Dable's system, and he's going to get a lot of work. He looked really spry. I mean, we only saw him for 4 carries for 13 yards, but he did get a reception, 2 for 8. So it looks like pass game might be utilized a little bit, and he's still in pretty decent shape. So I kind of like him a lot. And so after my pick goes Josh Allen, Ezekiel Elliott to the turn to the third round, to Devontae Williams and Keenan Allen. So it's back to me. And man, I kind of want to go and get another running back before we get into the dead zone here. And this is another guy that's very close to Barkley's range of value. A trusted veteran and a guy that's playing on a championship level team, and that's going to be Leonard Fournette. That's going to kind of round out my running backs a little bit before we hit dead zone time and any kind of ambiguous type situations. But I really like Leonard Fournette a lot. The whole overweight thing is kind of being blown out of proportion. I think he's going to be a solid workhorse this year, especially in redraft leagues.
All right. I feel like this could be considered a little bit of a reach, but this guy is just impressing me more and more. And I think that he just has that potential to be that guy on this, what I consider an underrated offense. And here, early in the third round, I'm going to go Breece Hall. There's some of the other running backs that I don't love here. James Conner isn't too bad, but I just don't trust any particular player in that system. Akers I kind of like also, but I just really love that upside of Breece Hall, even with Michael Carter in that backfield. So I'm going Hall here. Let's give that a try. So after Breece Hall, John's up again. So yeah, just giving a quick recap. Bud's first three players, he has Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, and Leonard Fournette. Me, I got Derrick Henry, Deebo Samuel, and Breece Hall. Both chose to go 2 running backs and a receiver. Bobby's over there still hanging out at the 11 spot with a couple of running backs, Deandre Swift and Aaron Jones. Bobby, I know that you were very high on the 0 RB strategy last year. What has changed between last year and this year?
Well, the fact that I'm still a believer in the 0 RB strategy. However, for some reason, I'm not a believer of it when you draft that way. I think that the problem with the 0 RB strategy, at least in my opinion, is I'm a big guy that likes to trade throughout the season. I believe trading is a very valuable thing that can really put you ahead if done correctly. And so with the 0 RB strategy, it makes it hard to trade because most people look for running backs. You don't have running backs. Your options are very limited. And then, you also at the same time with the 0 RB strategy, you are at times banking on an injury, which again is very common in the running back situation. But if that doesn't happen or something doesn't pan out, then you're in a really tough situation. And so, I think it's best to have more of a balanced approach, maybe even a little running back heavy, because running backs, again, are very coveted. So even if, you don't have something even if your team's not doing too well, at least you may have something that somebody wants in running backs, and you can maybe be able to make deals and trades that way. Because it seems like every point in the year, people are looking at running backs and they always want them. They're always going down. So after John went ahead and picked Kyle Pitts, we went Mike Evans, James Conner, T. Higgins, Cam Akers, Patrick Mahomes. I'm on the clock here. Looking at the draft board, to me it's pretty clear. I was hoping that Justin Herbert falls. I believe he's going to be the QB1 this year. Again, I don't always go early. I'm not always expecting him, but because he fell to me here, and I'm not crazy about the other options at wide receiver, I'm going to take Justin Herbert. And again, I have 2 running backs, so I'm not really looking too much at a running back as of right now.
Yeah, I was actually very close to going Herbert at the 4th spot myself. I instead chose to reach and go for Breece Hall. Yeah, I really do like Herbert too. But I think that I've been drafting quarterback early on a good majority of these, a lot earlier than I intended to. So I wanted to give it a different try this week and maybe go a little bit later with quarterback and try putting a guy like Breece Hall in there. But I absolutely love Herbert anywhere in the 3rd round. Hey, even if somebody's got the 1 spot or 2 spot and really wants to try for them there, I don't even mind Herbert there just because of his potential, his upside. You know what he's capable of, and he's young. He's growing, and his offense and defense both just improved over the offseason. So I'm expecting the Chargers to be a great team in real life, and I think that just really helps him take that next step. So I'm excited for that entire Chargers offense, and Herbert's just at the helm of it. Some of those guys on that squad that I'm just really excited for. So, yeah, I don't blame you at all for taking Herbert there at the end of the 3rd round. I personally go him over Mahomes. I think we're all kind of on that same page there.
Definitely. And again, Herbert, you have to understand, you just look at the context of Justin Herbert besides just the eye test. I mean, you look at he broke rookie records in his rookie year, and that was under a system under Anthony Lynn, who, was at times pretty stubborn, at times pretty conservative. And you just saw what he did. He has underrated rushing ability as well. And so he's just going to be, he's on the ascent. Just kind of like what you said. So after me and I took Herbert, Brian went back to back with the 12-13 slot. He has David Montgomery and AJ Brown. So now I'm sitting here again. Again, I have a lot of good options here. Wow. A lot of awesome options. I do need a wide receiver here. But at the same time, I'm loving the options that I have. I'm going to take Travis Etienne. I think that in this position, I don't trust Doug Peterson much, and I know James Robinson's beginning 1st-team reps, but Etienne is a 1st-round guy. He's back. He's healthy. He's looking great. And he's going to be heavily incorporated, especially in a PPR league. I couldn't pass him up here in the 4th round.
Yeah, because you knew there was no chance he was making it back to you, and that's when you got to reach for some of those guys. I know, like in the last round, I took Breece Hall mostly because I knew that he wouldn't be getting back to me, and he's a guy that I really want on my team, and I feel similarly about Travis Etienne too, especially in PPR leagues. I feel a lot similar to him that I do about Aaron Jones and even Deandre Swift. You got 3 guys there who, especially in the PPR game, have so much upside, so much potential. And I think that all 3 of those running backs that you drafted in the first 4 rounds have, like, any one of them can just go off any given week, and just being huge in the pass game is going to be big for all 3 of those guys. So John looks like he is about to let the clock run out again as well. Time's up. Auto drafted Michael Pittman Jr. All right, so it is my pick now. And let's see. Bobby, why don't, or Bud, one of you guys talk while I look at who to pick.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we can dissect Brian's team real quick. So he's pretty loaded on wide receiver. He has Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb. I like both of those guys quite a bit. And David Montgomery is kind of a head scratcher for me. I don't think he's going to be that hot in Chicago. But I like A.J. Brown too. It seems that he's going to be heavily involved in the passing game there. But he's loaded on wide receivers. If he starts going running backs, he could have a pretty solid team. K-Mac went ahead and picked Jalen Waddle at 4-9. That was pretty much expected. I thought he was going to pick him. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about that while I make my pick since I'm up next, K-Mac?
Yeah, so we've talked about Jalen Waddle a little bit on the show. I know that we kind of have mixed opinions on him. Some people think that he's taken a little bit too high. I think that he has the potential. I know Tyreek Hill is huge for that offense. I think that offense is going to be a lot of passing going on, a lot of men open downfield because of that speed that Tyreek and Jalen Waddle bring. And I think Tyreek Hill is going to command a lot of double coverages, a lot of safeties going over to help him. And if you look at the big play that everyone was talking about of Tyreek Hill, that 65-yard bomb, yeah, he was open. Yeah, he made that. But Jalen Waddle was open right in the middle of the field as well. So he'll have that look. He already has that chemistry that he's been developing with Tua since Alabama. And I really like Waddle here in the 4th round. I think that him and Tyreek are both going to eat this year. And I think that him in the 4th round here, I really like him. So anyways,
Good
after
deal.
Waddle, Bud went Cortland Sutton, then went Antonio Gibson, DK Metcalf, Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs, and back to Bud.
Yeah, so I went ahead with Cortland Sutton just because I think him and Jerry Jeudy are going to get the work over there. So we know that he's going to be a receiver to target. We know Russell Wilson's going to throw that ball a lot. DK Metcalf was there. I didn't really like him too much. The only other guy I really liked was BMW, Big Mike Williams, but I wanted to go Cortland for the upside there. And I'm going to go quarterback here now. I went with Kyler Murray. There's no way he's going to make it back to me. I'd like to get a quarterback that's going to be, definitely top 5-ish. I don't like playing around with the late quarterback, and we know Kyler is going to, rip that ball all season and be able to run too.
All right, so I'm here, and honestly, Jerry Jeudy's been really going up my boards a little bit too. I think that both him and Cortland Sutton, either one of them has potential to be a wide receiver 1. Honestly, there's a chance that both of them could be in the kind of offense that Denver's running. However, here I'm going to go Mike Williams. Just want to make sure that Bobby doesn't get that stack.
Playing defensive, I respect it.
No, but I know that there's another guy who's probably going to get to you unless John drafts him here, and that is Hollywood Brown, who, if he gets to that 5'11" spot, I know that Bobby's snagging him up in a heartbeat. And he'll say that he's happy to have Hollywood Brown as his wide receiver 1, and he's ready to go with that. So, anyways, after Mike Williams goes Allen Robinson to John's team, J.K. Dobbins, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, Joe Burrow, Elijah Mitchell, and Bobby. How do you feel about Marquise Hollywood Brown this year?
Say it every time in the mock draft. Also, if you guys checked out a video or a segment we released regarding some wide receiver values this year, Hollywood was covered in depth there as well. Again, first of all, you have Hopkins out for the first 6 weeks. The Cardinals not only traded for him, but then they did give him a contract. He's in his, I believe, 4th year now, but he started to really come on the scene last year as a top 10 wide receiver for the first 10 weeks or so last year. He's a perfect skill set for Kyler Murray in this air raid offense. We know they want to go vertical, and Lamar Jackson is not known for a vertical guy, but Kyler Murray is, and he can extend the field. So I think Hollywood comes with a perfect blend of safety and upside that you can get in the 5th round, especially if you go like me and you go heavy on quarterback and running back early. You can snag a guy like Hollywood. So again, as you said, K-Mac, I'm happy to have Hollywood as my wide receiver 1. And I'm totally on board with you guys, Bud. You've taken Sutton. K-Mac, Judy's also been flying up my draft boards as well. I think it's so clear that those guys are both going to get work. And I love the pick of Big Mike as well. I mean, again, we talk about that offense. It's very good. It's very explosive. People forget Big Mike was the wide receiver 2 for the first 6 weeks. And again, the Chargers extended him as well. And you can't look past that. When teams give money to players, actions speak louder than words. Sometimes you have to follow the money. And they obviously believe a lot in Big Mike. And that shows that he's going to be a big part in what they do. Also, you notice that Keenan Allen has been solid and consistent, of course, but he is getting older as well. And so I think Big Mike is going to take that next step forward. And look, he certainly has the capability as well. I mean, he was a first-round pick coming out of Clemson in 2018. He has all the physical tools that you need, and he's shown that he can potentially do it in stretches. So huge value pick there for Big Mike also. I like it.
All right, come on. Brian auto-drafted Dalton Schultz with the last pick of the 5th round. Great job, Brian. So now your only running back is David Montgomery, as you have 50 seconds left to auto draft your next. Wait, did it change to Cordarrelle Patterson?
Yeah, that did.
Are these sleeper shenanigans happening again? He probably put the pick in and it just wasn't loading for whatever reason. But all right, again, not a pick that I would make, but you do you, Brian. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally sold on Patterson this year. I think that a lot of the reports coming out of Atlanta is he's not going to be in the same kind of position he was last year. And he goes Dak Prescott after that, so completing that Dallas stack. So he got the stacking memo.
So now I'm sitting on the clock here after Dak goes. John sniped me because I wanted Allen Robinson. I was hoping he would fall as well with Hollywood. Him and Hollywood were the 2 guys I was looking at as receivers on this board. So now I have to really pick a guy, and my next best guy is going to be Chris Godwin. And look, I know that he did start practicing, but he still may not be ready for week 1. We have to kind of follow it and see what goes on. But I think it's worth the pick here. And again, obviously the offense isn't a concern. He's in a great offense. He's a great wide receiver. And you look at what's around him. Yes, they brought in Julio and Russell Gage, but Mike Evans has hamstring problems too. And again, Brady's going to go to the guys he trusts. When Godwin is in there and healthy, there's no doubt he's going to produce as a solid fantasy performer. And so I'm going to take the gamble on Godwin here. I like him over some of these other options. I don't trust Cooper with Watson. We don't know what's going to be him. Amon-Ra I'm into as well, but the thing is I have Deandre Swift already. So that's basically where I'm going to go. I'm going to go Chris Godwin. After Godwin goes Amari Cooper, Juju Smith-Schuster, CEH, Dalton Schultz this time, Darnell Mooney, which brings us to John back on the clock again.
All right, so let's take a little bit more of a look here. John's picks so far have been half actual picks, half auto picks, but I started to build together a pretty well-balanced team. I actually really like that pick of Allen Robinson also. We talked about it, and he goes
That's
Michael
interesting.
Thomas. That is interesting. That doesn't seem like a pick that he would expect. Oh, I'm on the clock now. What do you think of that pick, Bud?
I mean, I think it's good. We know that Michael Thomas is coming back, and we know that he's going to be heavily involved in this offense. But now he has 2 good wide receivers to split out with, in Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry. And if him and Jameis can, get a connection, he's going to be a great guy for those short pass catching. And while, Chris Olave is a guy that's going to go vertical. and Jarvis Landry is going to be, gadget type guy. But I think it's a good pick. I think it's a little early for me. I like Thomas maybe closer to the 8th round, but there's so much value in these middle rounds for these wide receivers, so I respect it. After John K-Mac goes Jalen Hurts. You want to talk to us about Jalen Hurts? This is a guy you're very high on, K-Mac.
Yeah, so I've talked about it a little bit. Jalen Hurts is a guy who I think that he has the upside to be the number one quarterback in the NFL this year. He was that for a portion of last season, and I think that with the new weapons that they're having, especially A.J. Brown being the kind of guy he is, it really could improve Jalen Hurts in the passing game. You saw in his first preseason game, I know it's just preseason, it doesn't account for much, but he had a perfect drive, 80 yards and a touchdown. Hurts is looking good. With A.J. Brown on that team, I think that the sky's the limit for him, and I think that the QB1 spot is available for Jalen Hurts, and to grab him in the 6th round or potentially even later, I think that that's a steal at his position, and I would take him over some of the other guys that have been taken so far. So after Hurts went Amon-Ra St. Brown. Bud, how do you feel about him?
Yeah. I'm not muted, am I?
No, you're not.
I had to look. I'm on my phone, so it's a little hairy. I like Amon-Ra a lot. We know that he's going to be the primary pass catcher there, at least until Jameson Williams shows up. Now he has some backup with DJ Chark there, and this offense, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people this this upcoming season. And we heard, Bobby's very excited for it in terms of Swift. And I mean, Amon-Ra almost broke 1,000 yards last season.
Come on.
What? Oh, you were going for the tight end stack?
I was just going for the little tight end stack, but thank you for forcing me. This is a situation in fantasy. Sometimes, especially when you're doing these mocks, and it's like, oh, I want to do a little stack, that I honestly normally wouldn't go for Goddard there. But since I had Hurts, and afterwards all the guys are going to be like, oh, you don't have a stack. I was going to go to Goddard there, and I'm not really feeling going after Devonta Smith here, especially with some of these other players here. So you know what? I'm going to go with another guy who I'm actually very high on this year, and that is Rashad Bateman. I think that I've talked about him a little bit also. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 over there. Lamar Jackson's looking like he's ready to take that next step up. If he plays, he's still holding out sort of for that contract. What is that, a soft holdout, what he's doing? He said he wants to answer by week 1 of the regular season, an extension. So I don't know, but I got Bateman, I got Williams, I got Waddle, I got Samuel. I'm pretty much set on wide receiver for a little bit. Got my quarterback too. All right, so John goes Kareem Hunt next, which he's also requesting a trade, not really demanding, and Cleveland said no. So, there's that. Russell Wilson, a string of quarterbacks goes Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, followed by Damian Harris, Ken Walker, and back to Bobby.
I mean, I think you guys both probably know who I'm going to pick here. Let's see if you know.
Gabe Davis.
You got it. I think we're all high on Gabe Davis here. You heard it. If you guys listened to that segment, you heard me make the case for Gabe Davis as well. There's just so much going for him, as you would know too, bud. He averaged 19.5 PPR fantasy points a game in the last 6 games in the regular season last year. Obviously, we saw the upside, which is something I love, that potential that he has, which is in that playoff game. He's clearly looking like he's going to be that full-time role in a very pass-heavy still offense, despite the fact that they may go a little more run-heavy. And again, Gabe Davis, I love him here as my 3rd wideout, probably my 2nd if Godwin doesn't play. So I'm going to go with Gabe Davis here. But I have a question, too, regarding Rashad Bateman, because I'm a huge Bateman guy as well. I had him last year. I love his talent. But I was seeing reports in Baltimore, to me, or at least from what I understand, that they're going to go a little bit more run-heavy back to what they did in 2019. And so if that's the case, don't you think that may cap his upside just a little bit? Don't you think he may be more of like a higher floor reception type of guy, as opposed to like a true, number 1 wide receiver? I don't know. What do you guys think, K-Mac? What's your reasoning for Bateman over Gabe Davis?
So, I mean, I was kind of on the fence about that too, because I do really like Gabe Davis, but Bateman is being kind of pushed into that alpha role there. I know that they have Mandrews still, but I really really liked what I saw of Bateman last year, and I think those reports, like, it's hard to tell until the actual season starts. Baltimore's always been pretty run heavy, and yeah, you're getting J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards back, and Lamar Jackson's always gonna try to push it in at the goal line, and he's always a run first quarterback. It seems like so. I don't know. I still really like Rashad Bateman. I was huge on him last year, and especially without Hollywood Brown this year, I think he's just going to take up that mantle. And a number one wide receiver over a number two at the end of the day, was my decision.
I respect it. I definitely see your point, and I'm a big Bateman guy too. I loved him last year, especially coming out. Loved
Did
his
Brian
talent.
go a second quarterback here?
He went Matthew Stafford. He did, and Zach Ertz on the turn. I have 2 seconds left. I was deciding between two players, going with Tony Pollard. We talked about him previously again. I think, Bud, I know you're especially on Pollard as well. But back to the Bateman thing too. It does make sense too, that Baltimore was okay with trading Hollywood too, and that shows, I think, that they were confident in Bateman as their one as well. So I respect that pick, K-Mac. I still probably would have taken Gabe over Bateman only because of the upside. I think Gabe Davis has a little bit more upside, but I still respect that pick. So after I take Tony Pollard here, we have a string of wide receivers: Drake London, DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Renfrow, Devonte Smith, Chase Edmonds, and now John is sitting here on the clock with 20 seconds to go, and we'll see what he does.
I will tell you what he does. He went Elijah Moore. Another big surprise.
Did he though?
Yeah.
I didn't see it yet.
You
I
don't
didn't see
see
a
it?
pick.
Yeah.
No, it still says he's on the clock.
Well,
my end.
I'll give you a little spoiler.
Time's
He
up.
takes
Auto.
Elijah Moore. All right, here I am. I don't really love any of the running backs here, but I guess society tells me I need to take a running back here. But am I going to listen to society, or am I going to go by my own rules and take Chris Olave here? Another guy that we're all pretty high on. Just the more I see of him, just the more I'm impressed. He has those sharp cuts. He's another huge. I think that especially having Michael Thomas back and just being able to open up that field for him, I think that Chris Olave is going to succeed in that system. And Bobby introduced him to me nice and early, and I've just been watching more and more of him. And I really like him. I really like him in that system, and I think him and Winston are going to click early and often. So, yeah, I've gone 5 wide receivers now, 2 running backs, and a quarterback. So,
Dang it, K-Mac.
I'm happy with my wide receivers.
Dang it. I was hoping my decision was between Pollard and Olave.
Well,
and
you
I
took
didn't think
Pollard,
that,
so I had to take Olave.
I know I needed him. I know.
I was
didn't think that
Pollard.
Yeah, and I could see you needed Pollard too. I didn't think that I figured I could go for Pollard because I figured Olave would still be there coming back, and I didn't like any of the other wide receivers, and I love Pollard's value there. So that's why I went with Pollard, but now I got burned.
Yep, you got burned because I needed my 5th wide receiver. All right.
And I needed my 4th running back.
Maybe we'll make out a trade. We can work
Let's do it.
out. All right. Bud goes Devin Singletary. Then we got Burks, Ayuk, Knox, Lockett, and back to Bud. Bud, any reason you went Singletary over Cook?
Yeah, just we know that they're going to utilize Cook in the passing game, but I think Devin Singletary is going to be more pure runner, but he's going to get the same pass catching work that Cook would. And we saw how much that Singletary really came on the back end of the season. So I think that this is going to be a big year for him, just because we're going to need to see him get more work, just in case he's going to move on to another team. And yeah, so followed by that, I sniped. I'm assuming Randray Stevenson, because I had a very good feeling that either with K-Mac or with Bobby, he would not make it back to me. Rhamondre is going to be the pure number 2 guy for sure in New England. I know it's very
he could be the number
very
1.
crowded over there. He could be the number 1. There is talks that New England is listening to other teams for Damian Harris, which is for sure something that they trade people all the time. And K-Mac's on the clock now, so we'll see where he goes.
All right. I'm in dangerous need for a running back here. I really was hoping that Randray Stevenson would make it to me. I'm not sold on Cook. I'm gonna go Rashad Penny here, just as a safe bet here to at least start the season. I think that eventually that is gonna be Ken Walker's backfield, but start the season, I think Rashad. I got Rhamondre on the mind, man. I can't believe you. First Goddard, which is probably a good thing. I don't need Goddard on my team, and then Rhamondre. Man, I'm done with you. I'm done. Somebody else could host the rest of this. I'm done.
All right. So after Ramondre, John auto picks Trey Lance, which is actually a pretty good pick. We see Trey Lance really come on in the preseason game, and we know he's going to be the number one guy there. After him goes James Cook, Garrett Wilson, Melvin Gordon, Chase Claypool, Cole Kmet, and it's now on Bobby in the 9th pick, or the 11th pick in the 9th round, excuse me. And it'll be Brian twice after him, back to Bobby.
Yep.
What are you looking at doing here, Bobby?
I'm definitely looking at a wide receiver because I need
Bobby
some wide
Trees?
receiver help.
He took Bobby
I'm
Trees?
really good at
Bobby Trees!
So here's why. I'm very good at running back right now. Obviously, I have my quarterback. I'm willing to wait on tight end. I was hoping for Olave, but he didn't go. We all kind of sniping each other there. So I was looking at the wide receivers, and out of all the options, I'm going to go with Robert Woods. Now, I'm not ecstatic about it because I believe that if I were to start a team, I would want Robert Woods on my team because he is a very unselfish wide receiver. He's a very good run blocking wide receiver. He does a lot of things well that don't show up on the stat sheet. If you just watch games, you can see it. However, I'm not a huge fan of where he's at right now. I don't think he has much upside, despite the fact that he will probably be the de facto number one. But I don't think he necessarily has the skill set to be a true number one. I think that McVay's system really helped enhance him a little bit, but I think he is going to provide a solid 4 and a solid target share. Again, not crazy about the QB situation. Tannehill is solid but unspectacular, and it's still, at the end of the day, is a run-first offense with Derrick Henry. But at this point in the draft, with the value, Robert Woods has proven he's going to see a good target share, and I think that he's a very safe wide receiver here to pick. So after Robert Woods goes Alan Lazard, and Brian's on the clock again. Just curious as to your guys' thoughts on Robert Woods.
I mean, at that spot, I like him. Like you said, he's the de facto number one. He's not a guy I'm really targeting in drafts, and I'm actually very surprised that you grabbed him. Every single one of your picks before this point have been not a surprise. Actually, I probably could have predicted most of those, if not all of them. But Robert Woods was the first surprise for me just because I think that he is a pretty solid floor guy. But being that de facto number one, I think that actually does come with a little bit of an upside, especially as Burks continues to develop in that system. And when he comes along as well. But anyways, what's up?
Yeah, I was just going to chime in real quick. So I'm a guy who owns Robert Woods and Treylon Burks in my Dynasty League right now. And I know somebody else that's in another situation like that. But I think Bobby Trees is going to be very suitable for at least this season and next. I think he's going to mesh very well with Ryan Tannehill, and get a lot of receptions this season. He might not be the big deep threat guy, but he does have that potential, as we've seen, and he is getting the lion's share in camp, and he's ready to go. So I mean, this late, you can't go wrong.
And that's exactly my reasoning too. With Robert Woods, because he is, I'm just looking at my team, and I feel like I have a lot of upside. I'm very strong at other positions, and I have a lot of boom or bust type of wide receivers. And so, based on how my roster is structured, Robert, and where I'm picking, and what my options are, to me, Robert Woods makes sense. And I'll let you pick K-Mac. I just want to say one more thing too. Is a lot of it too, I think, depends on roster construction. If you look at some players on your roster, maybe you went heavy upside or maybe a little bit of floor, then a player that you pick might bake into that. You might decide to pick a guy with more upside because it fits better with your team, or vice versa, a guy with a safer floor that kind of helps balance out that upside that you have. So after Nyheim Hines, I took him. Russell Gage, Pat Freiermuth, Mike Gesicki, Michael Carter, Kadarius Toney, Alexander Madison, and K-Mac took Isaiah Spiller, and now Bud's on the clock.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about Isaiah Spiller. He is, I think, one of the backups that has the most to gain and not that I'm wishing this, but in the unforeseen incident that Austin Eckler misses time. Spiller, I believe, is a running back one. I think that he's a good fit for that system. And I think even with, he's seeing a lot of reps behind Austin Eckler, and I think that he's great to fill in. And especially with my running backs, they got pretty top heavy with Derrick Henry and Breece Hall. Rashad Penny is a guy who's going to be good to start this season and fall off. Spiller's that guy who could potentially fill in, maybe send as a handcuff to the Eckler, or just be pretty good as a standalone RB2 in that system. So, but after that went Christian Kirk, a guy who I like here too in the 10th round. Bud, what are your thoughts on Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are down on him because he's over in Jacksonville, and I mean, yeah, that's a thing to be
That's actually why
definitely
I like
concerned
him,
about. But I mean, look at it this way: he's the number one guy. He was 18 yards shy of 1,000 yards in a crowded wide receiver room with the Cardinals. And, Doug Peterson wants to let Trevor Lawrence develop. And I think Christian Kirk is the guy to help him get to the next step. And he's going to definitely, get a good amount of work. If he can crack 100 receptions, and 1,000 yards, the numbers are going to be there. And having him as my wide receiver 4, I'm totally okay with that. So after I picked Kirk, went Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, Derek Carr on the turn, Albert O, and then I went Damian Pierce. The only reason I did that is we know, even though he's a rookie and he's with Houston, he's going to beat Mac and eventually be the starting running back in that role. He's getting the work, long term, and we know that he's going to be the guy. And having that as one of my bench running backs, I like that guy a lot, and hopefully he could get the job done. K-Mac's got 10 seconds, and his pick is next, and he goes Rashad White. So talk to me about Rashad White, K-Mac.
Yeah, similar to how I feel about Isaiah Spiller. High upside backups behind a heavy leader, and I did not mean heavy in the term that it'd be comedic, because all the you get it with the Leonard Fournette stuff,
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying that Leonard Fournette is the clear number one in that system, similar to Austin Eckler. And Rashad White and Isaiah Spiller are two guys that especially, I think they bring a lot of potential, and I'm high on both of them in case either of them should go down. And especially being kind of light and top heavy at the running back position here with Derrick Henry and Breece Hall. Actually, I've gotten a fair amount of rookies here. And Team 10 took Tua. They already won the draft. Bobby's up. He got Hines in the last round. And he goes Michael Gallup, another one that's not a surprise to me. And I was very close to going Michael Gallup myself. But then I thought, all right, I'm set on wide receiver. At this point, between Bateman, Olave, Williams, Waddle, and Debo, I don't really need Gallup right here. So it really came down to a need thing there. I'd rather take a bunch of these lottery tickets at running back between Spiller, White, Penny. Penny's more the safe play. But anyways, Bobby, tell us a little bit about Gallup.
I think we may have talked about him previously as well, but look, Michael Gallup is, I think we all can agree, is more than capable of being a solid wide receiver. He's always been a good wide receiver. He's just always been in a crowded receiver room. The Cowboys, again, actions speak louder than words. They traded Cooper and they gave Gallup an extension. So that shows me that they have confidence in his health when he comes back. And now the offense is more centralized after losing Cooper and Cedric Wilson. So Michael Gallup, to me, you can get him late. And when he comes back, I believe he can put up wide receiver 2 numbers. So I really love Michael Gallup here. Again, kind of the opposite of your team, K-Mac. I'm actually looking for wide receivers. And so I need to start loading up on some wide receiver depth. Now, let me talk about Julio Jones real quick. Yes, Julio is my favorite player of this generation. I'm a huge fan. But I was reading reports that when the Bucs signed him, he's going to be involved. Now, he's not going to be Julio of old, but he's going to be involved. And last year, despite not doing, putting a pretty bad campaign in Tennessee, there were some flashes that he still had it. And again, he's not going to be prime Julio. But you put him in that offense, especially potentially with no Godwin for the first few weeks. Maybe it's a handcuff to my Godwin, if you will. And I think Julio grabbing him this late could be useful for fantasy as a solid bench or slash depth wide receiver. Again, they're playing in a very good offense as well. So real quick, after Julio goes Darrell Henderson, Tyler Allgeier, Justin Fields, Irv Smith Jr., Deshaun Watson, George Pickens, and K-Mac selected Romeo Dubs. K-Mac.
Yeah. And just to mention before that, Brian went with his second tight end, Hunter Henry, followed by Ronald Jones, maybe the fourth string running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Just wanted to throw that in there. So yeah, I went Romeo Dubs. I don't know. I'm not sure about him. He's obviously getting a lot of attention this preseason. He's made some really nice plays. It's looking like he's having a better chemistry with Aaron Rodgers than what's it called? Than Watson. Oh, hold on. Screen's going black. Hopefully it's not cutting out here while we're talking. Anyways, Bud's up. He goes Devonte Parker.
Yeah. This is another situation that I was talking about having a clear-cut number one guy, and it seems that Parker is going to be that guy, pure veteran presence. Hopefully he could get the bounce back that he didn't have with the Dolphins. And we know that Mac Jones is going to be a guy that's going to want to throw the ball a lot if allowed. And I think Parker's going to get, the lion's share of that work. I actually like both Dubs and Pickens. I was hoping Pickens would fall, but John auto drafted him. So of course that did not happen, but that's okay. And here actually, so I'm going to go quarterback. And this is going to be my backup quarterback stack. And I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence here. I'm planning that, of course, some people only go one quarterback, but I'm cool with going two here because you have to have a backup quarterback, honestly. And,
no, you don't. Not in a 12-team one quarterback league. You don't need a backup quarterback. Save that roster spot. Oh, no, there's an injured Dolphin on the field.
But yeah, you go ahead and play out logic. I like having a guy that you can at least plug in for the one bye week, or something ends up happening. And sometimes I've been in leagues where people get four quarterbacks, and then what? And then you have to trade with this person. So I do like Trevor Lawrence a lot as a late round quarterback. I do think he's going to get some work, and I think that he's going to have a better coach in his ear this year than Urban Meyer. So after me, K-Mac goes David Njoku, and then Isaiah Pacheco, a guy I'm super high on, goes to John. Then we have Jahan Dotson, Marlon Mack, J.D. McKissick, Jameis Winston, DJ Chark, and it's back to Bobby.
Yep, I waited obviously on a tight end, and so this is pretty much my best option. I'm really deciding between Gerald Everett or Hayden Hearst. Gerald Everett, obviously the Chargers let go of Jared Cook, their previous tight end, and they brought in Gerald Everett, who is still quietly young, and he's very athletic. Hayden Hearst going to Cincinnati and a good offense there. But I'll take Gerald Everett. I'm just tie myself to, I feel like, a slightly better offense, but, I'm hoping for 8 to 10 points a week from him at that point.
I don't know. That's a lot to ask, but yeah, that's the draft. Great job, guys. This is some really exciting stuff. I was looking a lot, and I think that Bobby's and my teams are almost like two sides of the same coin. We had a lot of similarities. His was a little more heavy on the running back at the beginning and trying to find some of these flyer wide receivers late, and I was kind of the opposite. So I think that this was a very fun draft, Bud. I know you got to head out in a few minutes. Why don't you talk about your team a little bit and maybe another team that you liked?
Yeah, man. I'm really surprised with how my team came to me. I would love to have this team in a real league. Not gonna lie. I like my running backs quite a bit. I think I could have went one in the dead zone rounds, but there's nobody I really even like in there. Maybe CEH if he went maybe a little later, but I think that Barkley and Fournette are going to have good seasons. I think Singletary is going to be a good option at flex for me. I like the wide receivers. Justin Jefferson is a no-brainer. Sutton, we know, is going to be involved. I like Amon-Ra a lot. Dallas Goedert is going to be a good wide receiver and a great target for Jalen Hurts. The only thing I'm worried about is his target share might dip a little bit, but we know that he's going to find the box quite a bit. I like the younger guys that I got on there too. I think Christian Kirk's going to be pretty involved in the passing game for Jacksonville, and Dameon Pierce is going to get a lot of work down the stretch. As far as other teams, I like. I gotta say, Bobby, you got some really good guys. You found that wide receiver value in those middle rounds, and Gabe Davis was the cherry on top, pretty much. Like him a lot. It's a guy I'm very high on. He's on my team. I have him in Dynasty myself, and Robert Woods is a pretty good pickup too. Gallup coming back from injury. If your guys that come back from injury, this team's loaded on wide receiver. It's pretty good. And the running backs are good too. Herbert was a solid pickup. I think honestly the only weakness is tight end for you, but that's not even a huge deal if you have that much points coming from your wide receivers.
Bobby, you're allowed to talk about your team now.
Yeah, I agree with Bud. The only thing I'm worried about was I was deciding between Aaron Jones or Tyreek Hill. And I was hoping to get Olave instead of Pollard, but for what you said, Bud, I'm very happy. Just like you were saying, if I had this team in a real league, I'd be ecstatic. I feel like I have the number one QB. I'm very happy with those three running backs, and they all, like K-Mac mentioned earlier, catch passes. So even if some of my receivers don't pan out, I feel like I'm really, really set at running back, especially with Pollard and Hines shoring up my bench. I couldn't have asked for a better running back core. And that'll allow me to make trades too, potentially, because again, I feel like a lot of those guys, assuming they stay healthy, are going to be heavy in demand. And so I can always make trades to bring in an elite wide receiver. And again, I'm in love with Hollywood. I'm really happy I got Gabe Davis. And so I just need one of those guys like Robert Woods to be consistent, or if Gallup comes back strong and hits, or if Godwin comes back and hits just like we know he can, then I feel like I have no weaknesses besides tight end. Ecstatic about my team. I really like what you did too, Bud. I absolutely love your first 4 picks. Actually, your first 6 picks. Again, we already talked about Jefferson. We know your receivers, Jefferson, Sutton, Amon-Ra is really solid. I'm not a huge Fournette guy, but I think Saquon Barkley. I think he has something to prove, and I think that he can really come back this year. And if he does, then you're going to have basically 2 top end talents, because people forget Saquon Barkley was a top 2-3 overall pick in fantasy for the past 3 years before last year. And really the only issue for him has been health. So I think in the second round, that's a great spot to gamble. And I really like Randray Stevenson. We talked about it. Patriots potentially maybe trading Damian Harris. He's a very good running back. And if they were to trade Harris, then Stevenson shoots up draft boards. So I really like what you did, Bud. I like your team. I think you have a really solid core. I like your value, especially Kyler Murray too. I think that was good value as well.
All right, so I'll talk about my team a little bit. I went. I tried on a little bit on some players I wouldn't normally draft. This is what mock drafting is all about. This isn't a spot that I really love at that 4 spot. I'm actually a lot bigger towards the second half of the draft, because I did find myself reaching a few times for players that I was pretty high on, especially being Breece Hall. I don't know, man. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him, and I think especially over some of these other guys, I think that he has the highest upside, and I think that he can finish as a RB1. A rookie running back has landed as an RB1, and I think it's been almost every year for the last decade or something. So I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I think that Breece Hall's that guy. I think Michael Carter will still play a significant role in the offense, but I think that this is Breece Hall's team, and they drafted him early for a reason. I think that draft capital speaks a lot, and I really think that the Jets' offense is one of the sneaky underrated offenses in the NFL. I think that they've made big improvements this year, and they are serious about their future at the offense. And I think a lot of it will rely on Zach Wilson, who I think is going to have a better year this year. I know a lot of people aren't high on him. I think that he is a very boomer bust guy himself. I think he still needs to develop in his consistency a little bit, and unfortunately, John isn't here to talk about him. But the other night we did have a scare with his injury, which a lot of people were speculating ACL. It could have been a more serious injury, but thankfully it is nothing too serious. No major structural damage, just a bone bruise and a torn meniscus. But I think that Jets offense could be sneaky good this year, and I think that there's multiple players on it that can produce, starting, I believe, with Breece Hall. And other than that, I just went pretty wide receiver heavy from that point on. Jalen Hurts, who I talked about ad nauseum, and a couple wide receiver flyers down the line. I don't know. I was happy with my team. Again, is it a team that I would draft if I were actually doing it? More so this experimental way that I was trying for this? I don't think so, but I'd be happy with it. I would be happy with the way it turned out. And Bobby, I think we could work out an Olave for Pollard kind of deal. We'll talk about it later.
Let's do it. I'm all for it, man. I'd love it.
All right. So, yeah, that's the show. Bobby, any last things you want to say before we get going?
Same thing I say at the end of every podcast. Look, mock drafting I think is beneficial in this way. Just like you said, K-Mac, it's good to mock draft on the platform that you're playing in your league, because every platform has different. There's some of their ADPs are somewhat significant and they're different, so they may be available at certain spots of the draft than other platforms will be. So if you're targeting certain guys or whatnot, then it's important to know what platform you're using. Obviously, know your rosters and what your rules are, of course. But yeah, I mean, definitely mock, because you don't have to go crazy with it, but I would do at least a few, because you get a good grasp on who goes where and who you can expect to be. Because a lot of times when I'm deciding on a player, what helps me with my decision is realizing, what type of players are going to be available later at this position, and am I okay with grabbing one of them if I miss out on this one? And so that mock drafting and not drafting on your platform helps you to realize that, so it help you to make better decisions. So I would definitely encourage mock drafting for sure.
All right, and this has been our fourth mock draft of the year, and we're putting all of these up on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, YouTube. And when we get to the season, we're going to be live on Twitch as well, answering every single one of your questions. And want to ask it somewhere else? We are on Twitter and Instagram, all social media. Just look up LMF Scramble and we'll be there. We have been putting out a lot of good content specifically on Twitter. So if you're listening to us, please give us a follow on Twitter. And I just want to thank John and Brian, who were not here today, but were able to join in on this mock draft and participate in the fun. And if you're listening to this too and want to join in on our next mock draft, we'll probably do one or two more before the season starts. So feel free to join us. Feel free to let us know. And please follow and subscribe us on all these platforms, Twitter, Instagram. And just really appreciate the listen, guys. Bud, any last words before we head out? Bud is dead.